Chapter 146, Utter Crushing. Second dueling platform, Feng Lin vs. Feng Jin. Since Feng Lin defeated his opponent too quickly, it would take a total of 30 minutes before the system matched him against another participant. Moreover, as the competition continued, the strength of the participants would only increase and the battles would be even more intense. The duration of their battles would become longer as their consumption rate of energy grew larger. Feng Lin moved up to the dueling platform. And before the fight began, Feng Lin's opponent was consuming potions of life frenziedly, using this time to replenish his nutrients and energy that he had consumed earlier. Feng Lin didn't hurry his opponent, he simply waited by the side while feeling speechless in his heart. Rounds after rounds, how long would it need? This caused him to feel extremely impatient. Situations between life and death were the best for training one's combat prowess and fighting will. The geniuses in the clan were all nurtured by the clan's efforts, and things were too easy and comfortable for them. How would they be able to compare to Feng Lin, who had tempered himself through real life and death situations, fighting in many bloody battles? Hence, this resulted in Feng Lin's current combat style. It was fine to be relaxed if he didn't act. But the moment he acted, he would make sure to crush his opponents. These geniuses from the clan, in Feng Lin's perspectives, were playing around during combat. They would even show mercy when exchanging blows and try to avoid harming their opponent's vital parts. This made him extremely speechless when he saw it. Feng Lin, you are a nice person. Next, I will, this time around, his opponent, Feng Jin, seeing that Feng Lin was patiently waiting at the side for him, had a good impression of him and wanted to praise him. Stop. Feng Lin stretched his hand out to stop him from continuing. Don't speak so much crap. Hurry up and begin. After finishing you off, I still have to prepare for the next battle. All the words he wanted to say were now stuck in his throat. This Feng Jin was so angry that he actually laughed. After finishing me? Preparing for the next battle? My judgment was truly wrong. I didn't expect this fellow to be so arrogant. Do you think you will win against me? Let me make use of your carelessness and give you a complete defeat. Seeing that Feng Lin hadn't entered his combat state yet, Feng Jin coldly laughed and instantly launched an attack with the entirety of his strength. Thunderfire Shooting Star. His countenance turned red as all the genetic might he could muster instantly gushed forth, twisting the space, generating boundless thunder and fire that fell from the sky. The waves of energy were extremely chaotic and were like flood trying to drown Feng Lin within. Bang, bang, bang. Feng Lin instantly moved. His punches were like lightning, filling the sky with fist shadows. That violent thunder and flame had fused into one and struck down, but they were dissipated by Feng Lin's normal punch. The remnant thunder crackled uselessly while embers glowed, scattered around Feng Lin. There wasn't a single charred spot on Feng Lin's body. Feng Lin calmly retracted his fists. He stared at the blackened clothes on his body, feeling somewhat speechless. Although the stone monkey gene was strong and could resist the rush of different types of energy properties, this ability couldn't extend to his clothes. What? Feng Jin was completely stunned as he had never seen such a strong body that could ignore the rush of impact from thunder and fire. Wasn't this simply invincible? Swish. Feng Lin was lazy to talk nonsense. His figure flashed, transforming into a series of afterimages as he moved toward Feng Jin. How fast? Feng Jin's eyes narrowed, seeing Feng Lin's silhouette flashing about akin to teleportation. This made it hard for him to react to. What? Fighting in close combat with a cultivator that had a body-strengthening gene? Wasn't this stupidity? Thunder protection. Sizzle. Sparks flew about. Feng Jin's entire body was shrouded by lightning and thunder, as though he was clad in armor made from electricity. Swish! His body transformed into lightning shadow and hurriedly shot away. Feng Lin's punch hit an empty space. He was astonished. Truly, there were no weaklings at this stage of the ranking competition. This Feng actually used thunder and lightning to strengthen his cells, allowing him to move at incredible speed. Feng Lin couldn't help but feel excited. It seemed like he could play around more seriously now. Rumble. Feng seemed to have transformed into a lightning hero, circling Feng Lin at great speed. His hand gestures changed as flames gushed forth unceasingly from his palms. He used lightning to strengthen his body, increasing his speed so that no one could track him, and had completely mitigated his flaw in close combat. At the same time, he could use flames to launch long-distance attacks to unleash his greatest advantage. One couldn't help but say that this man had the right idea. By doing this, he was able to maximize his greatest unique point. It was simple and effective, allowing him to strengthen his attacks. Ordinary experts wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, to Feng Lin, all of these were meaningless. Now that his stone monkey gene had been maxed out, his ability of being impervious to fire and water had also been strengthened to the max. He was already completely immune to ordinary flames. Unless it was those unique flames found in planetary cores, no matter how fierce the flames were, it would be completely ineffective against him. He felt as though he was soaking in a hot spring. Such ordinary flames made him feel comfortable instead. However, he also didn't wish for his clothes to be burned. Things wouldn't be too nice if he had to stand before everyone stark naked. He instantly unleashed a barrage of attacks, causing fist shadows to fill the sky, completely stifling these flames. For interstellar cultivators, energy attacks would consume the most genetic energy. Feng Lin wasn't anxious to close the distance. He was waiting for his opponent to exhaust himself, slowing down his speed. There was nothing Feng could do against Feng Lin. He didn't dare to get near and continued using flames, greatly depleting his store of genetic energy. In the end, the electricity around him weakened as his speed gradually slowed. A good opportunity. Feng Lin stomped the ground. His muscles tensed and acted as a conduit for the energy in his body, which transferred them onto the surface of the ground. The ground suddenly trembled as Feng Lin shot up into the sky like a cannon. What? Feng didn't expect Feng Lin would erupt forth with such a ferocious move. The electricity around his body flared brilliantly as he wanted to dodge again. However, Feng Lin couldn't even be bothered to play catch with him. Just stay. A pair of palms stretched out, shining with a jade-like luster, breaking part of the electric shield as he grabbed hold of Feng. His hands were like iron hoops, holding on to the vital points of Feng's body. No matter how Feng struggled, he was like a poor rabbit that was pressed down by the tiger's paws. He couldn't move at all. Feng Lin, victory. Time taken, 12 minutes. The AI immediately announced the result. Although Feng's combat method wasted quite a bit of Feng Lin's time, as this was the first time Feng Lin took over 10 minutes to defeat someone, Feng Lin's energy consumption wasn't that much at all. In truth, he didn't even act. Just the immense defense provided by the stone monkey gene was enough to cause his opponent to be defeated without him needing to fight for real. Feng Lin swept his gaze over to the other participants. Without realizing it, he was already at the final stage. Once the victors among the other participants were decided, the final 10 participants would be ranked. On the arena, other than Feng Lin, who could crush his opponents effortlessly, the other supreme geniuses of the clan seemed to have met some unexpected situations. For Feng Li, his saber arts were sharp, and his slash would manifest formless saber force that projected an imposing aura. However, his opponent was extremely powerful too. He had a body covered by extremely tough scales, which was capable of blocking Feng Li's sharp chi. His claw attacks were extremely ruthless as he parried blows from Feng Li again and again. For a while, the two seemed to be equally matched. Swish. As for Feng Jinpeng, he spread his arms wide, taking on a stance like a bird spreading his wings, as he controlled gales. He was like a golden rock, soaring proudly through the sky, swooping down on his opponent. His opponent was as immobile as a gigantic mountain and had a defense like an ancient turtle. From the start until the end, Feng Jinpeng wasn't able to find a chance to obtain victory. The others felt that the clan's ranking competition was extremely intense. However, to Feng Lin, he just watched for a while and found it extremely boring. The stone monkey gene was a variation grade, and innately, it was already able to suppress several same-grade primeval genes. To others, the attacking techniques of these people seemed very powerful, but Feng Lin could see that they lacked sufficient killing power. Due to the influence of his stone monkey gene, his style had always been to overwhelm others with pure strength. Unless the attacks of these people had high enough intensity to break through his defense, everything would be useless, no matter what techniques they used and how dazzling they might look. Feng Lin already didn't have the patience to continue waiting. He had to hurry up and settle the troublesome matters in his clan and put in all his effort to participate for the interstellar college exam. The universe was very vast, and his future had no limits. He didn't wish to remain behind in such a small clan on Earth. After another half an hour, the top 10 participants finally appeared. Feng Li, Feng Jinpeng, and the other acclaimed geniuses all had their names listed in the top 10 list. Feng Lin was the only unexpected one. But when the crowd saw how invincible Feng Lin seemed earlier when he had fought during combat, they naturally wouldn't be blind enough to say that he didn't deserve this. For the competition between the top 10, the method of choosing opponents would be done by drawing lots. And just when it was about to commence, Feng Lin took the initiative to walk out, drawing the attention of the entire clan. His gaze swept toward his 9 potential opponents as he calmly spoke, "Don't need to draw lots. Just come at me together." As his voice rang out, the entire space fell silent, so silent that you could even hear a pin drop. Chapter 147, Come at Me Together. If I don't shock people, I won't die peacefully. The instant Feng Lin's words rang out, they were like thunder from a clear sky, causing this entire space to fall silent. The eyes of the clansmen turned to each other, and they had strange looks on their faces, suspecting that they had heard wrongly. Interesting. On the tall platform, the demonically handsome man stood up and seriously surveyed Feng Lin. The interest in his eyes grew stronger and stronger, as though he was looking at an extremely exciting toy. Arrogant. Do you think that you are an elite cultivator? Which one of us isn't an expert among interstellar cultivators? You actually dare to say such a thing? Truly, ignorance is bliss. Feng Jinpeng was of the direct line of descent. Thus, he had never seen someone that was even more arrogant than him. He was the first that could no longer suppress his emotions and immediately cursed out loud. For the other participants, they had become interstellar cultivators despite their young ages. Which of them wouldn't feel proud? Being disregarded like this made them extremely angry. You want to fight us all together? There's no need for others to act, I will deal with you first. You should pray that after the lots are drawn, you are not my opponent. If not, I will ensure that you end up in an extremely dire situation. Who the hell do you think you are? Various sounds of criticism rang out. Feng Li, who was among the participants, actually didn't move. He simply narrowed his eyes and stared at Feng Lin. His gaze was as sharp as swords and radiated an extremely forceful aura. Regardless of mockery, cursing or viewing him with contempt, Feng Lin didn't care at all. Although everyone felt that he was arrogant and was either mocking or cursing him, no one thought that he was for real. Fong Lin's gaze coldly swept through the crowd. He didn't say anything and merely looked fixedly at the Fong clan's leader. Why was there a need to take the barking of these people to his heart? Fight one against all, whether this would happen, would have to depend on the clan leader's will. Seeing that Fong Lin was ignoring them, the participants grew even more angered. It felt like their faces had been slapped and there was a burning sensation on their faces. Disregard. Fong Lin was completely disregarding them. "Hey brat, you best not be so brazen." A fierce-looking man looked as though he was about to rush out. The clansmen in the crowd finally came back to their senses. It was like they feared the world would have no chaos, and all of them started shouting excitedly, "Fong Tu, you are right. Go up and teach him a lesson. You are an upper-class clansman. How can you be bullied by lower-class clansmen? Quickly defeat this brat to crush his arrogance." Seeing that things were turning chaotic, the clan leader finally couldn't bear it any longer. Silence. As he shouted, his voice rolled through the air, thundering out loud, instantly overwhelming the comments made by the crowd. As the leader of a clan, he could control the fate of the vast majority of people here. Nobody dared to antagonize the clan leader. The clan leader's eyes were like an eagle as he turned to stare at Fong Lin. He seriously asked, "Fong Lin, do you really wish to fight against all the remaining participants at the same time? You must know that they are all in the top 10. Fong Lin nodded as his intent couldn't be clearer. The other participants had faces filled with anger. It was just that they were fearful of the clan leader and hence, they didn't join the cursing. Fong Lin retained the calm look on his face. He had already decided to do this in his heart. If he followed the clan leader's arrangement and fought these people one by one, how much time would be delayed? How meaningless was this? His foundation in the clan was too shallow. Even if he won every battle by fighting one by one, he would still be doubted by others. Many would say that he won because he was lucky. Fong Lin didn't wish to bother with all these tiny matters. In order to avoid trouble, he might as well display a might which was domineering enough to create an immense shock. At the same time, he could allow these people to witness the great disparity in strength between him and the clan's geniuses. If he did so, no one else would dare to say that it was due to luck. This, seeing how stubborn Fong Lin was, the clan leader hesitated. He didn't know if he should grant Fong Lin's request or not. If he agreed, wouldn't he damage the pride of these geniuses in the Fong clan by asking them to deal with Fong Lin together? If he didn't agree, and if Fong Lin didn't give up, wouldn't Fong Lin continue to provoke the clan's geniuses by asking whether they were scared or not? Wasn't that also a huge humiliation? Things are getting more interesting. Just when the clan leader was hesitating, the demonically handsome young man beside him laughed softly. He then suggested, "Agree to Fong Lin's request." "Young Master Fong, what suggestions do you have?" The clan leader was puzzled. "If I agree with his request, wouldn't it be too unfair to the other geniuses?" "This is simple." The demonically handsome young man smiled. "Just make it so that this last round's combat format changed into a free-for-all battle. Wouldn't that solve things then? Put them all on the same platform and let them engage in chaotic fights. The longer they can last, the higher their ranking would be. The last man standing would naturally be the victor. By changing the format to this, it would greatly resemble the situations one has to face out there in the interstellar space. After all, in a chaotic battlefield, no one would be so silly to fight you one-on-one. A free-for-all can test their capabilities better." "Good idea." The frown on the clan leader's face smoothed as a smile appeared on his face. By doing so, he could satisfy Fong Lin's request and protect the pride of the Fong clan's geniuses. He no longer hesitated. "Now, I will announce that the ranking competition's format will be changed to a free-for-all at this last combat round. The top 10 participants will fight on the same platform, and the longer they can last, the higher their rankings would be. The one who remains standing at the end would be the victor, the strongest genius of the Feng clan. After a short period of astonishment, the crowd all burst into cheers of excitement. This was a brand new format, where the top 10 would fight chaotically against each other. The battle scenes would surely be much more fascinating and intense. How exciting! They didn't expect that the clan leader would actually agree to Feng Lin's arrogant suggestion. But one couldn't help say that this was truly a good idea. Countless pair of eyes stared at the designated platform unblinkingly, afraid to miss out on any fascinating scenes. These participants also felt astonished, but after they recovered from their shock, they all moved up to the designated platform. Their gazes now when they stared at Feng Lin became more sinister than before. It's fine like this then. We can join forces and instantly force you off the platform, making you become the first loser. At that time, we want to see how arrogant you can be. As they slowly approached Feng Lin, a smile could be seen on their faces. However, their smiles soon disappeared at the next instant. Just come at me together. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you guys come at me one by one, you won't even have a chance at all. Feng Lin wasn't willing to get down like this. He wanted to conclude this ranking competition as quickly as possible. He unleashed the full potential of the stone monkey gene and freed all restrictions on his body, displaying his full strength. Powerful ripples from his vitality stats gushed forth from him. The energy waves could be seen by the naked eyes while they churned wildly in the air around him. The place where Feng Lin stood became the center of this energy vortex. Formless tyrannical might gushed out, causing others to feel stifled in his presence. What? The other participants exclaimed in shock. When they felt this pressure that was akin to a giant mountain boring down on them, they couldn't help but take a few steps back. Their hearts seemed to be pressed down by a huge boulder, sinking into the valley. They no longer had any thoughts to resist. All they could do was open their eyes and stare at the figure that was akin to either a god or a devil. Their expressions were filled with stark disbelief. Feng Lin was prepared to use his strength to suppress the peak geniuses of his clan single-handedly. Chapter 148, Suppressing Peers. How immensely powerful was his vitality stats? The suppression brought by a difference in vitality stats would transform into a corporeal pressure that bore down on the weaker parties. The pressure they felt was like a mountain pressing down on them, causing them to be unable to stand tall. At the place where Feng Lin was standing, numerous waves of energy churned wildly. Even those clansmen who were spectating from afar felt a heavy pressure pressing down on their hearts. They were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. Just come at me together, or you guys wouldn't have any chance. Feng Lin warned them once more. No matter how unconvinced these people were, at this moment they could make no rebuttals. The powerful suppression, due to the difference in vitality stats, made them unable to say anything. Only now did they realize that Feng Lin wasn't joking. He was truly prepared and had the strength to back up his words. He wanted to defeat them all single-handedly. Such a powerful vitality stats, he should already be very near to the level of an elite cultivator. Although Feng Lin was still unable to compare with one, the difference wasn't that great. They didn't expect that although Feng Lin seemed arrogant, once he released his life energy, it was actually so terrifying, causing them to be under such a great pressure. Right now, the other participants all had looks of trepidation on their faces. Nobody dared to take the initiative to make a move. Even after waiting for some time, no one made a move. Hence, Feng Lin's patience ran out, and he coldly spoke, "If you all don't want to act, I'll make my move then." Feng Lin stomped on the ground, leaping into the air. His feet moved in the direction of the 8 trigrams, and his body was like a roaming dragon. Both of his hands formed into claws as he lunged toward the person nearest to him. 8 trigram palm, azure dragon scouting claw. He was like a soaring azure dragon flying through the air. His hands were like dragon claws scouting from the clouds. The sharp claw force locked down his target from all directions, causing his target to have no way to escape. What? This was a young man with a gloomy face. Right now, his expression was one of gloomy and anger. He didn't expect Feng Lin to target him first. For mandarin oranges, one would always squeeze the softest first. Does this brat think that I'm the easiest to bully out of all the participants? You really think you will win against me for sure? The gloomy-looking guy was so angry that he laughed. He then roared and spread his hands out, resembling an open maw. Ice Dragon Devour. Black-colored crystals actually manifested in the surroundings, and they grew larger as though they were alive. The temperature in the surroundings plunged rapidly, like this entire space was transported into an icy hell. A dragon formed from the black ice crystals appeared before the gloomy-faced young man, blocking before him. Roar! The ice dragon suddenly opened its maw, causing a chill wind to rise. It reared its head up and let out a roar of anger as frost swept outward. The might of a single roar was already so terrifying. However, Feng Lin's eyes were as calm and as cold as the beginning. He didn't waver and continued his attack. With regards to his opponent, Feng Lin could only say that the gloomy-faced man was thinking too much. There was only one reason why Feng Lin chose him, it was because he was the nearest to him. However, Feng Lin was in no mood to explain it to him. He didn't care about them ganging up on him. In any case, he would sweep all of these participants down. There was no difference between who he swept down first. The ice dragon revealed rows of sharp teeth. It breathed out a cone of frost which instantly enveloped Feng Lin. Feng Lin didn't evade. Ice crystals formed on his body and instantly turned him into an immobile iceman. The dragon then ruthlessly bit down, swallowing the frozen Feng Lin into its stomach. A living human was simply devoured like that. Sounds of shocked exclamations could be heard everywhere. Feng Lin. Feng Lin's parents stood up as nervousness and worry could be seen on their faces. Elder brother. Tears seemed about to flow down from Feng Cheng and Feng Xian's eyes. The other participants all sneered when they saw this scene. As geniuses who were long famous within the clan, they weren't unfamiliar with each other. This Feng Xian had awakened the Black Ice gene, a high-grade primeval gene that evolved from the Ice gene. It allowed the user to control black ice, and the temperature of this ice was over -100 degrees, causing their target to rapidly lose water and freeze solid. But this Feng Lin actually didn't dodge at all. He entered the stomach of the ice dragon and now, it wasn't even known if he could remain alive. All of them shook their heads and stared warily at the other opponents. In their hearts, they already felt that Feng Lin had died. Even if he didn't, he must already be crippled. Boom! Just when they thought that Feng Lin's matter was at an end, a rumbling sound suddenly echoed from the ice dragon's stomach. It exploded as a human figure leaped out. If this wasn't Feng Lin, who else could it be? His skin was like jade, glowing with a faint light. His body shook away the frost covering him, and he wasn't injured at all. What? That gloomy-faced Feng Xian didn't expect that Feng Lin wasn't injured in the slightest despite him giving it his all. Numerous black ice spears formed from the frost and pierced out toward Feng Lin. Feng Lin's claw force was as sharp as ever. With a swipe of his hand, the ice spears all shattered while his other hand caught hold of Feng Xian's arm. Feng Xian's expression drastically changed and wanted to retreat. But since he was captured by Feng Lin, was it even possible for him to leave? Feng Lin's fingers exerted force and were like iron hoops clutching his opponent. No matter how Feng Xian struggled, he was unable to move. Feng Xian's entire body was held, and he wasn't able to exert any strength at all. Feng Lin hoisted him up with one hand, as if he was bullying a weak and helpless child. After that, he slowly walked to the edge of the platform and tossed him down lightly. One opponent settled. Things were just so simple. This took almost no effort at all. Feng Lin seemed to exude an aura of invincibility, causing the other participants to feel extremely wary of him. Other than Feng Li, Feng Jinpeng, and a few others who were extremely confident in themselves, the other participants all decided to group together. They wanted to join forces to force Feng Lin, who now presented the greatest threat, off the dueling platform, or they would surely suffer inevitable losses. Feng Lin had no fear nor worries as he displayed his strength. He then slowly walked toward the other participants. With each step he took forward, those people took a step back. Their eyes were filled with trepidation, closely monitoring Feng Lin's every action, wanting to find that flaw which seemingly didn't exist. Feng Lin was prepared to fight one against all, and he did seem to have the power to suppress his peers of the same generation. There was no one else in the clan who could compare to him. "Let me try." A cold voice rang out. Finally, someone stepped forward. This was a young man with a lanky figure. His face looked grave and stern, and he stood straight up and tall. His entire person resembled a sharp treasured saber, radiating an overwhelming sharpness. This was none other than the publicly acknowledged top genius that could stand equally to Feng Jinpeng. His name was Feng Li. This Feng Li was somewhat similar to Feng Lin, as they were both low-grade clansmen. It was just that he rose to fame earlier than Feng Lin. Although Feng Lin was a little late, he gave off a feeling that his rise was something unblockable. Feng Li stared fixedly at Feng Lin, his entire body radiated a clear intent to fight. He was like a treasured saber that had been hidden away for too long and was now ready to be unsheathed, revealing its sharpness to the world. "I have a move. If you can block it, I will instantly concede." Feng Li coldly spoke. The people in the surroundings were all shocked. By doing this, Feng Li unconsciously already placed himself in a position inferior to Feng Lin. He was fighting Feng Lin from the perspective of a challenger. "Bring it on." Feng Lin didn't waste any more words. He stretched out his hands in a stance and waited for Feng Li to unleash his move. His gaze was also filled with heat. He wanted to know how much pressure could this peak-level genius of the Feng clan give him if he gave it his all. The Feng clan was still too tiny, too tiny. After experiencing the life and death battles on Mars, Feng Lin's horizons were already broadened. On his journey through this ranking competition, there wasn't even a single opponent that could prove to be the slightest challenge to him. Things were simply too boring. Znng. Feng Li was also not someone who liked to talk crap. His eyelids dropped slightly and a bright light suddenly flashed. His treasured saber flew out from the sheath, exuding an air of sharpness as it soared into the sky. The disturbance it caused created an energy vortex in the air that was visible to the naked eye. A wave of saber chi rapidly took form, slowly boring down, enveloping Feng Lin within. From a distance, it looked like heavenly saber strike that was slowly descending to behead Feng Lin. Although the crowd was viewing from afar, they still felt their hearts trembling as though a calamity was about to descend upon them. Heavenly Dipper Gene. Heaven Punishment Saber. Chapter 149, Who Can Rival Him? Heaven Punishment Saber. Slashing downwards. The Heavenly Dipper aura radiated out in all directions, fierce and tyrannical, wanting to destroy all life. The formless airflow condensed into a saber, just like the Heaven Punishment Saber that was described in the legends, capable of determining the fate of the multitude of living creatures. For those who showed signs of disobedience, heaven's will was like a saber. Once it slashed down, it would exude majestic heavenly might, turning the defiant ones into ashes. Rumble. What sound is that? The crowd mumbled. They could hear the sounds of thunder rumbling through space, as though the heavens themselves were angered. In an instant, only a beam of saber light remained, slashing through the sky. This beam of saber light was filled with a sense of annihilation, wanting to destroy everything. The saber light seemed slow, but the formless air force had already securely locked onto Feng Lin's body, causing Feng Lin to be unable to escape. In truth, Feng Lin also didn't intend to dodge. His body instinctively felt the threat as his goosebumps appeared. A wild look appeared in his eyes. In the legends, the great sage was an existence that could wreak havoc in the heavenly courts. Even when he was brought to the execution stand for beheading, or even when he was struck by lightning and burned by fire, not even a single strand of fur from the great sage's body was damaged. This caused the immortals and Buddhas to be completely helpless with regards to him. Just a mere heaven punishment saber, what was there to fear? Feng Lin wanted to see how much power did this saber contain. Ho! Feng Lin's palms created circles after circles in the air. Their movements looked like a dancing butterfly, causing those who watched it to fall into a daze. The power of his palm gathered, and there seemed to be a flag in front of him, fluttering in the wind, containing the power of chaos from the primordial era. Primordial flag imprint. A flash of white light arced through the sky, descending like a formless saber. Pooh, pooh, pooh. His palms launched out repeatedly, neutralizing the saber chi and dispersing its form completely. Dang! Everyone glanced over. None of the spectators dared to blink as they watched intently. The saber chi dissipated as the churning energy waves cleared. Two figures stood together face to face, both not moving at all. At this moment, Feng Lin's palms pressed together, and an extremely sharp treasured saber could be seen clutched between them. Feng Li had used his actual saber in this attack as well, and the saber was now stuck in a position 1 centimeter away from Feng Lin's forehead, unable to advance anymore. If the saber could slash down 1 centimeter more, Feng Lin would have already died. However, Feng Lin's palms were like the gates of heaven, holding the saber securely. This 1 centimeter gap was like a heavenly moat. The treasured saber had no way to breach it. Receiving a saber's attack barehanded. Silence was everywhere as the spectators were completely stunned by this sight. How incredible! Blocking saber attacks barehanded was stuff that only happened in the legends. For combat between ordinary people, such a thing might occasionally happen. But for a fight between cultivators, given how fierce the pace and how intense the fight was, such a thing was impossible to happen. Yet, this Feng Lin actually managed to do it. Seeing this scene before their eyes, the other spectators had to believe it even if they didn't want to. What shocked them the most was the fact that Feng Lin had received the ultimate saber attacks from one of the top geniuses in the Feng clan. This was simply... The emotions the crowd was feeling could no longer be described as being shocked. There was just a question remaining in their hearts. How hard is Feng Lin's body currently? Although the saying was that men could not be hard, wasn't this a little over the extreme? The countenances of everyone changed as they glanced over. They only managed to see Feng Lin's palms generating power. After that, with an abrupt twist, the treasured saber that was caught between the two palms emitted a shrill sound before it shattered into pieces. The pieces further crumbled into metallic dust, floating away in the air. Everyone. Feng Li lowered his head and saw his treasured saber being crushed into pieces. He didn't say anything more and simply turned around to depart. Next time, after I manage to fuse all the saber chi and be one with it, I will defeat you. From afar, he spoke a single sentence before he left. Feng Lin didn't care too much about this. Given his growth speed, although Feng Li's talent wasn't inferior, how tough would it be for Feng Li to catch up to him? This was simply impossible. Also, the disparity between them was greater than what Feng Li had imagined. Feng Lin lowered his head and glanced at his palms. He could see a clear scar there. His hardened skin actually chipped a bit as a small trickle of blood flowed out from it. What an immensely powerful saber art! Feng Li actually managed to slice his skin. The participants in the surroundings were all immersed in shock and persisted in this state for a long time, not yet returning to their senses. Daring to fall into a daze in the midst of combat? Feng Lin's lips curled up in a malevolent smile. His silhouette flashed as he lunged into the midst of the participants. He activated the stone monkey gene's ability to the max. His body was as tough as a stone as he barged in head-on. His punch was like thunder, while the kicks he unleashed were like whips that moved so fast that no one could track its shadow. Feng Lin didn't bother with defense. He made large moves, unleashing ruthless and ferocious attacks, blasting out power through the air as a tyrannical aura swept over everything. Go to hell! The participants roared. Many of them were hit by the attacks, and they were in so much pain that their faces contorted in agony. The pain caused their anger to erupt as they retaliated in full strength. Fireballs shot out, resembling shooting stars. Icicles rained down from the sky. Wind and thunder converged, radiating thunderous rumbling noises. Frost and ice manifested, forming a glacial river that gushed madly. Upon seeing Feng Lin's fearsome methods, how could any of them still dare to fight in close combat with him? They all unleashed energy attacks, wanting to engulf Feng Lin within an energy storm. These people were considered top geniuses of the Feng clan and had a deep understanding of their genetic abilities. When they worked together, they did so perfectly. The various energy types converged into one, charging at Feng Lin. He had no way to evade and was swallowed up completely. A faint jade-green luster radiated from his skin, forming a protective layer of light that completely isolated the energy storm. He didn't suffer any damage at all. He was impervious to fire and water, untouched by the myriad of laws. Feng Lin was like leisurely walking around in his courtyard, at ease and filled with confidence. Although this energy current seemed fierce, there was only quantity to it, there was no quality. Feng Lin didn't feel any pressure at all. The logic was very simple. No matter how much water there was in the ocean, would the water be able to drown a seemingly weak-looking little fish to its death? After the stone monkey gene's ability was strengthened to the max, he was only one step away from the elite cultivator realm. He could already be considered a half-step elite cultivator. The quality of the energy storm was simply too weak, thus, no matter how much the quantity was, it wasn't able to injure him. In fact, he even felt he was soaking in a hot spring, very comforting. Yee! All of a sudden, an ear-piercing cry that seemingly belonged to an eagle or a falcon rang out as violent gusts of wind was generated. Feng Jinpeng rode the wind and soared up the air, resembling a golden-winged rock. He would frequently shift his positions, moving at an insane speed. The spectators could only see a golden silhouette flashing about in the air. No one could see Feng Jinpeng clearly. Even Feng Lin's speed was inferior in comparison. Other than that artificial god, the Titan, this was the first time Feng Lin encountered an opponent faster than him in speed. Although his opponent's attack was useless against him, it was quite a handful to handle Feng Jinpeng. Feng Lin didn't want to delay things any longer, and he decided to end things fast. Bullet time. He activated the adrenaline gene and entered the special state of bullet time where his thinking process increased immensely while the world seemed to have slowed down. Feng Jinpeng's expression was grim. He was wrapped in the embrace of the ferocious gales as he descended from the air. Both his hands took the form of claws and were as sharp as hooks. Cold light gleamed from them as he aimed for Feng Lin's throat. A cold smile lit up his face. It was like he could already see the scene of Feng Lin being grabbed by him and obediently surrendering. "Get down." A calm voice rang out. "What?" Feng Jinpeng narrowed his eyes. An ordinary palm slowly grabbed out in slow speed, but was moving extremely fast in reality. Not good. Feng Jinpeng manifested more gales, wanting to escape. However, everything was already too late. The palm was like an iron hoop directly binding his legs. After that, with a ferocious pull, Feng Jinpeng was directly dragged down from the air. His legs trembled intensely due to the amount of power being used by Feng Lin. Feng Jinpeng only felt as though his body was electrified. He was completely numb, and even his bones were about to be dislocated. He had no strength to struggle. Feng Lin hoisted him up like how one would hoist a dead chicken. But his eyes calmly regarded his surroundings. No one else dared to get near to him. Staring around in all directions, who among the participants could rival him? Chapter 150, Invincible. How can this be? Exclamations of shock reverberated throughout the arena, accompanied by dumbfounded looks. Countless clansmen of the Feng clan were opening their mouths gradually, dropping their jaws, when they saw the scenes of the ranking competition. It wasn't that they couldn't be calm, but the change to the situation was just too abrupt. Feng Li, who was renowned for his sharp and ruthless saber arts, had his saber caught barehanded by Feng Lin and then destroyed. As for Feng Jinpeng, he was still pretending to be a golden-winged rock in the sky earlier. But now, he was like a dead chicken being grabbed by Feng Lin. He had no more strength to resist. The top two geniuses were defeated in succession by Feng Lin, just like that. Could it be that he really had the power to dominate all the other participants single-handedly? This was not only a possibility. It was an inevitability. Once Feng Lin rose, he would instantly soar up to the sky. He gave off a feeling of tyranny and invincibility. Feng Jinpeng had a trace of resentment on his face at being grabbed like a dead chicken. He was like a defenseless child. No matter what, he was the direct grandson of the clan leader, and everyone had always admired and was respectful to him since he was young. His talent was also considered very outstanding. When had he ever suffered such humiliation before? Soaring wings of the golden rock. He spread his hands wide, resembling a great rock spreading its wings. After that, he fiercely slammed them toward Feng Lin's chest. The generated wind felt as sharp as blades. They took on the form of feathers and launched toward Feng Lin. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, over 10 palm strikes blasted into Feng Lin's chest. However, they seemed to have hit a steel board. Thunderous sounds rang out, but Feng Lin wasn't injured. Feng Lin lowered his head and smiled calmly. This palm art wasn't bad, but it was completely useless. Upon seeing Feng Jinpeng's struggle, Feng Lin's hand suddenly flashed, moving toward him. Feng Jinpeng screamed as his wrists were dislocated. His hands helplessly slumped down and couldn't make any moves any longer. Have you had enough yet? Feng Lin coldly laughed. He walked to the edge of the platform and tossed Feng Jinpeng down. With a scream of misery, Feng Jinpeng was eliminated just like that. Feng Lin's casual movements in tossing Feng Jinpeng out stunned everyone. Feng Li and Feng Jinpeng were undoubtedly two of the strongest Feng clan's geniuses. Both of them had had hopes of becoming the top-ranking supreme genius today, yet they had both lost to Feng Lin. Since those two couldn't win, there was no need for the other participants to continue dreaming. As they stared at the terrifying figure on the platform, the one resembling a god or a devil, boundless fear appeared in their hearts. Feng Lin only gave them a feeling. A single word, invincible. We can't win. A thought arose in their hearts. The movements of their hands involuntarily slowed, but they still decided to attack. The energy attacks they sent out continued to blast into Feng Lin's chest, generating sparks. Feng Lin's shirt was torn and tattered, revealing his streamlined muscles. His body glowed with a faint jade-like color, and there were detailed veined lines as though they were made from jade. He was moving against the energy blast and forcefully walking forward. Vedra Dragonclaw. Feng Lin's fingers were like hooks, slashing out and generating streams of wind so powerful that they could tear apart stone and metal. These people couldn't evade in time, and their clothes were sliced through, leaving behind conspicuous bloody wounds on their body. The Vedra subduing Devil Fist was an initial grade low-tier genetic martial arts. However, its might was so much higher than the original version when Feng Lin used it. After all, the Vedra gene was just a high-grade primeval gene, thus, the body-strengthening effect of the Vedra gene couldn't be compared to the Stone Monkey gene. The claw force sliced apart the air, filling the sky with claw shadows, wanting to tear apart this entire space. Feng Lin was like a ferocious tiger who had left his mountain. He didn't care about defense. His body's toughness was so high that it completely rendered the attacks of the opponents useless. In comparison, the bodies of his opponents were too weak. They couldn't even withstand a single claw attack from Feng Lin. Their bodies were filled with scratches as blood dripped from their wounds. Feng Lin didn't use any flowery moves. He suppressed them completely with pure strength. This can't continue on. The 6 remaining participants exchanged a mutual glance as their expressions turned ashen. If they had joined forces with so many here and was blasted down the platform by one person, things would truly be too embarrassing. Even if they obtained a very high ranking, things would be meaningless. Everyone else would only remember them as an insignificant number whom Feng Lin counted as his defeated opponents. They became interstellar cultivators at such a young age and were all geniuses of the Feng clan. Which one of them was willing to become the stepping stones of others? Although the 6 of them didn't discuss this, they instantly came to the same conclusion. Let's act together. Genetic energy gushed forth with no reservations. Water, fire, earth, metal, wind, thunder, all sorts of energy types intersected in the air. Their faces turned red from the effort as they unleashed the entirety of genetic energy in their bodies, fusing them together. In the end, only a ball of darkness could be seen. Sizzle. Black sparks shot out from it, looking extremely bizarre and terrifying. The atmosphere in the surrounding space suddenly turned strange as the temperature soared. Feng Lin's expression turned solemn. For some reason, he felt a huge threat from this ball of darkness. After all, the participants here weren't weaklings. When they joined forces with their extraordinary methods, they were sufficient to cause a huge threat to Feng Lin. But this was fine. Only by defeating them head-on would it make them submit wholeheartedly. Feng Lin also unleashed his strongest attack. His hands formed gestures and his fingers became swords as he stabbed out, sending a terrifyingly sharp sword intent. The formless force in the air seemingly wanted to split the ball of darkness into twain. Immortal slaying sword imprint. This seemingly ordinary slash was generated by rapid movements of his fingers. Immense sharpness gushed forth as the sword finger slashed outward. This sword slash was like a flying immortal from the 9 heavens desiring to slay his fellow immortals and gods. Rumble. The energy ball of darkness blasted over. Chi. Feng Lin's entire person seemed to transform into a sword. He stood up straight as his sword fingers unleashed waves of terrifying sword chi. He resembled an ancient sword immortal, controlling his sword to take the head of others from 1,000 miles away. What martial art is this? The demonically handsome young man stood up, gazing at this scene. The languid and lazy look on his face completely changed, turning extremely heavy. On the battlefield, the sword imprint and the dark energy ball collided, and an explosion instantly occurred. Violent waves of might gushed out in 4 directions from the impact, causing the situation on the platform to be very chaotic. The participants were engulfed inside the explosion. The crowd couldn't see them clearly. All the spectators on the viewing platform involuntarily stood up as their eyes locked on the dueling platform, wanting to observe all commotions. The final battle would be decided with this one strike. Whoever was the victor or loser would soon be known. So, who would the victor be? Chi. A sharp slicing sound rang out through the air. All of a sudden, a small crack appeared in the ball of darkness, and it was sliced into 2. From within, a human figure shot out. His clothes were blackened and tattered, but his revealed skin was shining with a jade-like luster. He wasn't injured at all. If this wasn't Feng Lin, who else could it be? Feng Lin gazed over. His sword finger slashed out again, forming a marvelous arc to cut through the sky. For a split second, everyone could only set their eyes upon the arc of the slash. Sword chi gushed forth with unstoppable momentum. The 6 of them couldn't dodge in time and were all hit by that sword chi. They were knocked to the ground and were in miserable straits. Mighty Vajra palm. Feng Lin changed his finger stance to that of a palm stance and repeatedly blasted his palm out in the air. Generating a vast amount of force, it enabled him to hit targets from a distance away. The 6 of them were all hit heavily, becoming human sandbags that were flung through the air before heavily smashed to the ground. Right now, this entire space was silent. Feng Lin was the last man standing. He turned his gaze to the crowd, radiating the domineeringness of being unequaled. Feng Lin took note of the fear, trepidation, and astonishment on the faces of the crowd in his heart. Invincibility was also a kind of loneliness.